morally, a moral scenario. Hopefully you warm up.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I've been placed in a moral scenario because I've been asked to weigh the benefits of, I said 14,500, but how many people do you have in the new housing projects behind us on Elm Street and Livingston? How many people do you have there? Offhand?
In that development,
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure the number. There's
More than 400?
Oh yeah, there's 150 units.
So I've been asked to weigh the living conditions, the quality of life for approximately 400 residents against the non-existent employment issue of a few people. And I say non-existent because, again, I spoke with the mayor and he stated this wouldn't be an issue. When I ran, and I understand that, but when I ran for council, I ran for everyone. I ran for all 14,500 people in this town, whether you be Democrat, Republican, African American, you know, regardless of your race, ethnicity, religion, I ran for everyone. So my personal opinion is, I like the program. God bless you. God bless you. And if there are going to be residents of this town that will benefit, and other employees get to keep their positions as promised, I'm all for it. So if I were to vote on this right now this evening without it being tabled, my vote would be yes. And that's all I have.
I make a motion to table.
Second.
We will need a vote to table.
Councilman Lutz?
Yes.
Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Council Vice President DeGirolamo?
Yes.
Councilman McVeigh?
Yes.
Council President Phillipsburg?
I am going to ceremonially vote no on behalf of the people that I did speak with this weekend, with no disrespect to Mr. Fay or his family. But I believe that you've been here before, and you know how tough the decisions are that we have to make. And I think that somewhere deep inside you're able to respect a certain stance, and we will have that conversation when I leave here. If that's okay with you, if you're still willing to speak. Thank you, Council. Resolution number 2018-103, resolution of the Town of Phillipsburg transferring Section 8 housing to Phillipsburg Housing Authority has been successfully tabled until next week. The next is the resolution 2018-109, a resolution of the Town of Phillipsburg, County of Warren, State of New Jersey, authorizing the approval of treatment works approval permit application.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Just one, I did a quick look before the meeting. This is typically for either new wastewater treatment plants or for substations that move things along. So this is going to be for Ingersoll Rand for the additional sewer mains and things they need up there in order to implement the project. They need this to apply to the state. So.
Is this for the wastewater treatment application?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
not treating new water, it's for them to do
But they have to do the
substations.
permit application?
Yeah, they have to
That's-
permit to put new sewer mains up there.
Okay.
No discussion other than that? Can we get a motion to approve?
Councilman Lutz?
Yes.
Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Council Vice President DeGirolamo?
Yes.
Councilman McVeigh?
Yes.
Council President Phillipsburg?
Yes. The next on the agenda was the redevelopment plan. I would ask council to grant me the courtesy of tabling the redevelopment plan until the next meeting so we can have the engineer here and the family that wished to address council. I only think that it would be fair to them.
So moved.
It's just as point, there's no resolution or anything.
There's no
It's just,
resolution.
yeah, so there's nothing to table.
There's,
There.
I think there was nothing to table, but it was on here originally. I had spoken with the attorneys and
This is just the discussion.
Right, so for discussion, I guess for ceremonial purposes, it's tabled till next week. How's that sound, guys? Sure. All right, look at that. The next is the ad hoc advisements, and Chairman McVeigh had reached out to me. As everybody understands, the ad hoc committee was advisory, brought before a few arguments. I did receive your email today, Councilman. I showed it to you before it came in. That is your email, yes? Yes, it is. Okay. What I will do is read the. I will read it in its entirety to the council, and we can then decide on motion by motion. I believe what we were asking then is 1, 2, 3, 4 motions. So I will begin by this is from Chairman McVeigh. The findings of the ad hoc committee are as follows. After performing many interviews, it has been determined by this committee that Mayor Ellis did in fact inappropriately reward campaign contributors with newly created existing jobs and appointments without regard for town statutes and/or policies regarding the proper hiring procedures. This can be read in our official findings release. It is the advisement of this committee that the Phillipsburg Town Council authorize and order an external human resources audit to reaffirm and/or disprove the findings of this committee to afford complete transparency for the community at large. The very first resolution I believe we would be asking for, and Chairman, correct me if I'm wrong, it would be a resolution to provide council the opportunity to put out a public, an RFP for firms.
That's
so we can get quotes to perform the human resources audit. Was that a motion, Bill?
That's within City Hall.
Yes, in the municipal building for the years 2016 to 2017, to current date. May I get a motion? Well, these are
Not a
the,
formal resolution. You need
well,
to do
these,
not exceed.
well, right now we need to send it out to RFP, so we wouldn't have a
Okay.
do not exceed.
Okay.
We would have a do not exceed once we enter into a professional services
That's
contract with the
okay.
auditors, yes.
Okay, great.
So because now we are a council of the whole, it comes before this entire body, and it would need a majority vote in order to proceed. So I guess a motion for the resolution, and then we can have discussion.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Who's writing the RFP?
Well, I believe the RFP now, since we are since the advisory board has been completed, we can have the RFP written by our firm. They're no longer in conflict. It's not a
Oh,
conflict.
okay, sorry.
Yeah.
By the law firm.
Oh, that would be our law firm. the
Yeah, so
town.
that's who you intend to.
Oh, yes,
do the
sir.
RFP, okay.
Yes, sir. And it would then come before this body for our decision. So if you weren't comfortable with the number, or if you weren't comfortable with the firm, we would go ahead and take a look at that. And to be quite honest with you, I am not familiar with any human resources auditing firms, which is why we have to put that out to bid. So there's no further discussion. We can get a roll call vote, Board.
Councilman Lutz?
Yes.
Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Council Vice President DeGirolamo?
Yes.
Councilman McVeigh?
Yes.
And Council President Fulton?
Yes. That resolution's been passed, Jamie, got that? I can send it to you, there you go. The rest is during the ad hoc investigation, I apologize, during our ad hoc investigation into the appropriate hiring practices and procedures of Mayor Ellis, 3 other separate matters were brought to our attention, causing the expansion of our investigation and those matters. I do hold those reports in order to give council a clearer view. I will go ahead and read them for you, and we can go ahead and decide whether or not we will proceed with these resolutions. The very first is in June of 2017. Jennifer McBride, former campaign treasurer for Stephen R. Ellis, contacted Robert Fulper, myself, concerning matters relating to her tenure with the 2015 mayoral campaign and quote-unquote missing funds. Mrs. McBride informed this committee that she had been contacting the mayor since he had won the general election in November of 2015 with the intentions of closing out the account and settling the remaining funds by donating them back to the Phillipsburg Municipal Democratic Committee. Mrs. McBride stated that when she would approach the subject with the mayor, he would become evasive and or not answer her electronic communications, therefore rendering her quote-unquote powerless as his treasurer. She stated as time went on, she feared something quote-unquote illegal may have occurred with regard to the monies and was concerned with her name being attached as treasurer. Mrs. McBride further stated that she had no knowledge of illegal behavior, but the lack of communication and evasiveness was the basis for her concern. To further solidify Mrs. McBride's claims, she provided this committee with text messages between Mayor Ellis and herself, and the context of those conversations, which are attached to the original report, appear to show Mrs. McBride requesting documentation and bank statements in April of 2017. In one exchange, the mayor states that he had provided the quote-unquote Corcorans with a final withdrawal of $150, and Mrs. McBride subsequently questioning why he did not provide them with the entire amount. When Mrs. McBride was asked whom she was referring to by stating the quote-unquote Corcoran, she had clarified that she was referring to Thomas Kent and Sherry Corcoran, and I will not get out their address publicly. Furthermore, Mrs. McBride provided an electronic exchange between herself and the mayor, which occurred on May 23rd, 2017, which is also attached with what appeared to be the mayor stating, "No wonder why you all of a sudden decided to close out the account. I cannot believe this." This was puzzling to Mrs. McBride because she had stated she didn't close out the account, but revealed the fact that she had gone to Provident Bank and they stated the mayor had already closed out the account in September of 2016. Mrs. McBride then requested copies of the statements and submitted to us a copy of the withdrawal slips dated September 3rd, 2016 on a statement page dated September 23rd, 2016, proving the account was closed out with a balance of $194.31, not the $150 as was previously claimed in the electronic communications between the mayor and Mrs. McBride. Mrs. McBride also submitted two letters, one dated May 12, 2017 and addressed to the Election Law Enforcement Commission detailing the account, and the second account dated June 8, 2017. Also addressed to the Election Law Enforcement Commission designating her resignation as treasurer from the Ellis campaign. We then went to the New Jersey Election Law Enforcement Commission website to verify Mrs. McBride's account, and after downloading all of the documents, verified the last time Mrs. McBride was listed as treasurer was on the 20-day post-election report received November 23rd, 2015, with a reported closing balance of $972.04. After printing all of the ELEC forms, a notable change occurs with form number D1 received by the ELEC on June 14, 2017, designating the mayor's wife, Rebecca Williams Ellis, as the treasurer for the Ellis campaign. Also, the chairperson's signature, Brent Matsko, was noticeably different than the ones dated a year previous. It was suspected that Mr. Matsko's signature was forged. However, we were unable to contact Mr. Matsko at the time to verify. Those copies are also attached to the original report. Also received on June 14, 2017 by the Election Law Enforcement Commission was Form R1 for July of 2017, stating that the bank was closed out with zero balance. Then on July 17, 2017, the Election Law Enforcement Commission had received Forms R1 for January of 2016, April of 2016, October of 2016, and July of 2016, all signed by Treasurer Rebecca Ellis. After reviewing with Mrs. McBride, she stated that there were more donations missing from the final form: a $1,500 donation from Kent and Sherry Corcoran, a $1,500 donation from the Ellis family, and almost $800 of in-kind contributions. Mrs. McBride states that she is in possession of the physical receipts and has since turned them over to Chairman McVeigh. They will also be attached to the report as you had brought them to the ad hoc committee. Am I correct?
That's correct, I have them here.
The time frames from the receipt of the election forms, the discrepancy in balances, the signatures, the difference in signatures, and the difference in filed forms from that of the documents submitted by Mrs. McBride are a cause for concern and a raise for heightened suspicion. After reviewing with the council ad hoc committee, it has been determined that this matter be forwarded to the following agencies for further review, which is the Office of the New Jersey Attorney General, the Division of Community Affairs Legal Division, the New Jersey Election Law Enforcement Commission, and the Warren County Prosecutor's Office. That was the recommendation of the ad hoc committee for that that case, which was the McBride campaign issue. Again, I would ask for a resolution, a motion for a resolution to send this and the paperwork to the Office of the New Jersey Attorney General, the Division of Community Affairs Legal Division, the New Jersey Election Law Enforcement Commission, and the Warren County Prosecutor's Office, all because we are not capable as a civilian board of handling a law enforcement matter, and the content within was outside of our scope. Chairman, did I verbalize that correctly?
An outstanding job, sir. Motion?
You wrote it, so thank you. May I get a motion?
So moved.
A motion directing the clerk to
Wait,
send these documents
that
out to
is-
those already sent.
That is correct, yes, sir.
Coming in the clerk's
The clerk's office will be sending these.
Did you get a second?
I did not get a second.
Second.
Discussion.
Just one point.
Mm-hmm.
You said in there, Mrs. McBride already turned this over to the Election Commission?
She had turned over her resignation,
But not
and-
the
but not all
findings
of,
previously?
apparently not all of the findings, and to be quite honest, I believe that was, without going too much into it, I believe that's why we had seen some of the newspaper articles that we'd seen this week. I'm not willing to comment on that, but I would say that all of the documents that we have now were not transferred to the Election Law
Okay,
Enforcement
okay,
Commission.
that's all.
There were just two, Council Vice President, there's two correspondence by Mrs. McBride was sent to New Jersey Election.
That is correct, the two resignations that we had discussed.
Okay, that was, okay. Just making sure we're not
Nope.
double burdening the Election Commission.
Oh, I don't, they may be overburdened, I don't know.
It's not about the yes.
Point of order, I don't see how this recommendation is in alignment with the mandate that was given to the ad hoc committee to investigate the mayor's hiring practices. Seems to be far outside the scope of that investigation. So I object to being considered an advisement of the ad hoc committee.
Correct. Councilman, I do appreciate your objection. During the ad hoc investigation, we did expand them during one of the meetings, and that's when we did announce that we would be expanding the investigation beyond that of the hiring practices.
But that's an action of council. The ad hoc committee of itself doesn't have the right to expand its mandate.
So if I would have brought that before you today, do you not believe that this would be worth expanding the investigation for?
I couldn't tell you because the question wasn't posed. So,
But the
yeah.
report was just read, so I'm asking, I guess
Yeah.
for just an opinion, if this were to come before you today, what would you say that we had reason to pass this along, reason to expand the investigation?
I'm not sure that election law concerns are in the purview of council. If they are, then I'm sure we could go back and forth at each other about different election laws and whether they were violated or not, and whether council should be making a recommendation to that. I think it's probably a debate for another time.
May I?
Yes, you could.
When I put my petition in and decided to run, there were a lot of stipulations that I followed to the letter of the law. And I will commend the Council Vice President for staying on top of us hourly to make sure everything was straight on the up and up. That's how I conducted myself. Now, being a sworn official and seeing improprieties such as this, I do not close my eyes to that. It's hard for me as a former law enforcement officer, but just even as a sworn council member, this is very easy for me to turn over to the proper non-civilian board to let them handle. This is probably the easiest thing I've decided on in many years.
If I may, just to piggyback off of Councilman McVeigh, I'm not sure if you're aware, but there was an article released this evening where Mayor Ellis has accused the council members involved in the ad hoc of slandering his name and defaming his character with regard to our findings. And I would think that by turning this over to law enforcement and allowing them to investigate and verify or disprove the facts, I believe that we would then be able to I don't think anything will ever stop him from doing what he does, but I do believe that it will actually prove our case. So I'm for the resolution. So we did have a motion. This was discussion. So roll call vote.
Councilman Lutz?
Yes.
Councilman Davis?
No.
Council Vice President DeGirolamo?
Yes?
Councilman McVeigh?
Yes.
Council President Fulmer?
Yes. The motion was to provide, the clerk's office will provide the McBride matter to the following agencies for further review: Office of the New Jersey Attorney General, Division of Community Affairs, Legal Division, New Jersey Election Law Enforcement Commission, and the Warren County Prosecutor's Office. The second case, and I believe the subsequent is the second and third are actually in one report. I was on Tuesday, May 8th at 2018 at approximately 1100 hours. Council was contacted via phone by Anthony Fabo of Fabo's Home Renovations and Remodeling. I will not provide his personal information either. Mr. Fabo claims that he was contacted by Mayor Stephen R. Ellis to perform the cleaning and remodeling of 139 Cedar Alley in June of 2017. He stated his original invoice was priced for $5,600. The mayor then contacted him and told him that he needed to break up his invoices into $2,000 increments to allow him to approve them. Mr. Fabo claims he did so to appease the mayor, but had no knowledge of the local public contracts law. After speaking with Mr. Fabo on the phone, myself had confirmed his version of events via email, which is attached, whereupon asking about him, quote unquote, breaking up his invoices in an attempt to circumvent council approval, he had replied, yes, I was told to keep invoice prices under $2,000. Mr. Fabo stated his electrician, and I will not provide the electrician's name because he's also a town employee, so I do not want to, without him being riced, and I don't know if he was doing it on company time, it will allow them to decide. Provided an $1,800 invoice and subsequently an $800 invoice. This is consistent with the information we have on file at the municipal building, and we can refer to PO number 26167 dated June 29, 2017, and PO number 26553 dated August 25th, 2017. Both jobs pertain to the electric at the same building, and to our knowledge, this is a potential violation of the New Jersey Local Public Contracts Law, which is NJSA 40A11-1. This has since been confirmed as a violation with our municipal auditing firm. This committee's fear is that the mayor is circumventing the procurement process purposely, and this should be investigated thoroughly. It should be noted that we have suspected this for quite some time with the mayor and his involvement with contractors. For example, the plastering of a municipal building wall by a relative of a campaign contributor in the amount of $2,260, exactly $5 below the maximum threshold. And the trend of contractor work performed on file from 2016 to 2017, which will also be attached, just coming underneath the thresholds. In some cases, we have the same contractor performing work on the same jobs with separate invoices, thus adding to our suspicions. On Thursday, May 24, 2018, the report audit on the financial statements of the town of Phillipsburg was submitted to council by the town's auditing firm, Subley, Clooney and Company, with the following statement appearing on page 54 of the document. During our audit, the following instances were noted where purchases were not in compliance with the local public contracts law. Professional service contracts were awarded without not to exceed amounts, and purchases over the bid threshold were not awarded by resolution. On page 57 of the same document, under the heading Recommendations, the following was listed: that all purchases be made in compliance with the local public contracts laws. Contact was then made with the auditor, Robert Swisher, to inquire as to what the specific instances that led to this recommendation, and he had replied with the following statement: yes, This dealt with two situations. The first is that when the town purchases under a co-op, they must get a resolution from the governing body authorizing an amount not to exceed. The town passed a resolution authorizing the use of the Morris County Co-op, but never passed a resolution when using Tilcon for road resurfacing for $416,339.76. The other instance dealt with professional service contracts. In some cases, a professional was appointed at an hourly rate. This is not enough. There needs to be a not to exceed amount included as a part of the resolution. So for example, the town is appointing an attorney. They must specify that it is $150 per hour with an amount not to exceed. It was confirmed at this time with Mr. Swisher that Resolution 2016-69, their example, a resolution authorizing the award of a contract for professional services to Christopher Troxel Esquire to serve as a deputy municipal attorney, was in fact a violation of the local public contracts law due to not containing the language specified above. The statement of Mr. Fabo, the inconsistencies and suspicions surrounding the contractors, the awarding of work without council approval, and the amounts paid, and the official statements of the town auditors are cause for concern. Furthermore, and aside from the potential local public contract violations, Mr. Fabo claims that he was contacted by the mayor to meet him at 32 Heckman Street for a potential cleanup in August of 2017. He stated the residence was locked, and he accompanied the mayor to the rear of the building, where the mayor proceeded to shoulder the back entrance until the door opened, thereby breaking into the residence. It should be noted that this is the residence that absentee landlord Eric Einholz reported to the Phillipsburg Police Department as being broken into in August of 2017. Therefore, it has already been established that if the mayor had permission to enter the property, Mr. Einholz would never have made a report with the Phillipsburg Police Department. This committee is suggesting the local public contracts law violations matter be reported to the New Jersey Attorney General's Office, the New Jersey Division of Community Affairs Legal Division, the Warren County Prosecutor's Office, and the Phillipsburg Police Department. And the alleged supplemental report of breaking and entering would be reported to the Phillipsburg Police Department. So this here would be two resolutions. One resolution with the report of the local public contracts law violations. The committee is suggesting the matter be reported to the New Jersey Attorney General's Office, the New Jersey Division of Community Affairs Legal Division, the Warren County Prosecutor's Office, and the Phillipsburg Police Department, and that would be prepared for the clerk with all of the attachments therein. May I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Will we also be referring the ad hoc appointment of the Prucci Steinhardt firm with no dollar amount attached to it for a violation of local public contract law?
Well, that's a good question, Councilman, and I anticipated that. Were you aware that they have rescinded?
Regardless of, wait, so the firm rescinded?
The firm rescinded.
Yeah, so I'm aware that we never executed a contract, however, it doesn't absolve us of the fact that we did pass that resolution.
So are you saying then that this governing body has a pattern of breaking local public contracts violations?
I did not say that. I was asking specifically.
Right. So my answer to you would be, unless we had demonstrated a pattern, one could construe that this would be a mistake, but once a pattern is established, I don't believe that it's no longer an accident.
I think that it was addressed in the audit, and now we're knowledgeable of the fact that we were breaking that particular statute, and we have a pathway to address it in the future.
Well,
I would note that our previous auditor, since that contract was established in 2016, did not detect that was, so I'm glad that we brought Mr. Swisher's firm on in order to create that new finding so we know how to correct that action in the future.
So we're not just talking though about that one instance, we're talking about every invoice that we have seen in the years of 2016 and 2017, with the work being awarded, to whom they're being awarded, and how they are falling under the thresholds. I believe that is a matter that should be investigated by law enforcement because, well, there's just too many coincidences.
Thank you, Council President.
You're welcome, Councilman. Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Lutz?
Yes.
Councilman Davis?
No.
Council Vice President DeGirolamo?
Yes.
Councilman McVeigh?
Yes.
Council President Fulton.
My vote is yes. Just to clarify, because I don't want Councilman Davis catching fire. Councilman Davis, you're not voting no because you approve, you're voting of the behavior. You're saying no because of the matter in which it's being carried out, correct?
Well, I object to the format. I don't think it's appropriate for the ad hoc committee to be making these advisements. I have no objection with these matters being referred, but I just think that the pathway, the procedure is not appropriate.
Okay, understood. I just, again, I don't want people forming false conclusions that,
Nope.
you know, that
No,
you-
if we're not doing something right according to local budget law, I would, local public contracting law, I'd be more than glad to have it investigated. I just think that the venue is not appropriate.
Thank you, I do appreciate that. The last one would be the committee suggesting that the alleged breaking and entering that was reported to the Phillipsburg Police Department to a privately owned structure by Mayor Ellis be reported to the Phillipsburg Police Department once again and to the state's ethics committee for review.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Same argument, Councilman?
Yeah, I hear my argument.
Okay, noted. There's no further discussion? Did you want
No, I raise the same objections. Again, this is secondarily, this is hearsay, so we're sending recommendations based on the testimony of others that I don't believe has been heard before the entire council. So I object to hearsay being sent onto the AG's office.
I can tell you that the ad hoc committee, it's not hearsay if it's coming from the party that was there. That's why we would want the police department to properly investigate. That's just my take.
Do you want me to further clarify?
You were the police officer, sir. Please, I defer to you.
So I heard something today,
Okay.
and it was about me, and it was about, actually, Council President Fulton. And the words were uttered out in public by a public employee that they were going to kick our asses. Now, that came from a person that heard it out and about from another person. That's hearsay.
Yes.
The person that reported this was there. That's a witness. Again, this makes it very easy for us to move forward. I just want to clarify, I get what you're saying. So just so you know, I sent correspondence to that town employee today. I let that town employee know what I heard. I let that town employee know that I am too old to get into a confrontation. But I'm going to treat it as a rumor. If you can just approve or disapprove that, that'd be great. But I treated that as a rumor because it's hearsay. I didn't take much credibility. So that's the difference between a witness and hearsay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the clarification, Councilman. With that being said, if there's no further discussion, I would ask that the council vote on this resolution.